At the beginning of the second part of his great novel, Les Miserables, Victor Hugo describes a walking tour that he did in Belgium around 1860, when he went from one inn to another and was directed down a little country path and came to an ancient wall and followed it along and came to a gate where there was a great hole in front of it, and he was looking at this hole and a little boy said to him, "That was made by a mortar. And do you see those holes by the gate? Those were made by musket fire." And Hugo asked, "What's the name of this place?" And the boy said, "Hougoumont." And Hugo looked over the wall and saw in the distance a great statue of a lion on a hill, and he realised that he was on the battlefield of Waterloo. And not just on the battlefield, but at the centre of the battle, because the manor house of Hougoumont was the place where British troops held out throughout the day against everything that Napoleon could throw against them. And in the early evening, artillery was brought up and started to bombard the manor house, which caught fire and burnt down, and the little chapel attached to it where the wounded were lying, the door of that started to burn, and the great wooden crucifix above the door started to burn. But then the fire went out and the defenders held on, and the battle was won and lost. And after the battle, the Pope declared that this little chapel should be a place of pilgrimage. And so people started to come from all over Europe and would write their names around the cross. But then, of course, the families of French soldiers who died also came, and they wrote their names and put exclamation marks. And Hugo says that the nations of Europe started to insult one another. And the wall had to be whitewashed, but then more people put their names, and it became a sort of 19th century Twitter storm. But at the centre of it was the burned crucifix of Christ on the cross. When Victor Hugo found the farm in which the cross of Christ had burned, he saw graffitied on a wall thick screeds of names could be discerned, where scratched and inked around the cross by tourists, pilgrims, grieving wives, were signatures that signified a wastage of 6,000 lives, a morning and an afternoon, the place where a great battle turned, a chapel near to Waterloo in which the peace of Europe burned. Beneath that whitewash, Hugo claimed, were older layers of scribbled names, where echoes from the warring dead fought out in words their rival claims. Like some unvalued ancient harm, both unappeased and underpriced, that burned the gates and burned the farm and burnt the legs and feet of Christ, but burnt out on the cross of Christ, touched by a harm that all harm mends, a peace where none is underpriced, a place where every battle ends.